This time we're going to speak to a chap called Stinson Hunter. He's a West Midlands-based journalist who poses as an underage girl on internet chat rooms and web forums. He lures paedophiles on the internet with the promise of sex. When the men turn up, instead of being greeted by an underage girl, they are confronted by Stinson himself. He films their meetings and posts their results on the internet. Now, some experts, and we'll hear from them later in this programme, have accused Stinson of being a vigilante. So do you think he is a menace, or is he doing a public service? We'll hear from Stinson himself, as I say, in just a few minutes' time. We'll also take your calls as well on 08453 009956. Here's a sample of what he has posted on the internet.
Got something to do here today, please, sir. Well, you're not waiting for a 15-year-old girl then? So if I rang your phone now, that your phone wouldn't ring. I suggest you stay, sir, because we can make a scene. It's a very public area, and I'm sure you don't want a scene made. You've been speaking to a girl you thought was 15 years of age. How old are you, sir? 61? You look gorgeous. Shame I'm too old for you. We've got it all here. It's all going to be uploaded to the internet. It will be passed on to the relevant authorities. Obviously, we have your phone number as well. You can keep walking. We're just going to follow you to make sure that you have left. Yeah. So obviously there's children around as well. We know what sort of person you are trying to meet a 15-year-old girl for sex.
Now, here's an interesting thing. We tried to speak to the Centre for Child Exploitation and Online Protection, knowing that we were going to speak to Stinson Hunter today. This is what CEOP, which is the sort of official body which is in the business of protecting children online, says to us. Initially, they agreed to an interview on the programme. Today, they backed out of that interview. They have sent us a statement saying, "We do not encourage action of this kind, which can compromise ongoing investigations into paedophile networks and could spark an abuser to further harm a child if they feel threatened. Those who take this approach to exposing paedophiles could be breaking the law and may find themselves at the centre of an investigation or a prosecution. Identifying alleged paedophiles is best left to the police, who can ensure vulnerable victims are protected." We'll speak to Stinson in just one moment, but Philip's got in touch with the programme. Philip, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Yeah, what's your thought, my friend?
As a parent myself, as you get older and with children, you start worrying more and more about your child because we have to work and we don't spend so much time with our children. But I think it's interesting that with Ian Huntley, he was arrested 3 times for rape and 3 times for underage sex with minors, and he was still allowed to work in a school, still allowed to be around children. And many of these guys show these sort of characteristics. It doesn't start off with it doesn't just happen overnight. And with this guy Stilson, he sort of catches them while they're still sort of going through that early phases, I believe. And there's no, he's not coming after him, he's not beating him up or anything. And there's all this fear talk about, a mob's going to come, a mob's going to do that. I don't really believe that's true. And I think this is a good wake-up call to people to, make them stop. And I think it's a good thing.
Really good call. Thank you, Philip. Thank you. 08453 009956. We can speak to Stinson Hunter now. Stinson, good morning to you.
Good morning, mate. How are you?
Nice to speak to you. Just explain to me what gave you the idea of doing this. Why did you want to do it, and where did the thought come from?
Well, it was me and a friend, actually. We were round my house one night, and we were just talking about it. And I was like, we'll just see. We'll just go onto a dating site, and we'll just see like how many people actually believe that this person is underage. So my friend, we took some pictures of my friend and stuff and put them on there. Like, she was 19, I think, at the time. And so we did it, we put it up there, and with just all these responses, and some guys were like, the first messages were generally just filth, to think that, they can talk to women like that. And then we told them how old we were straight away. It's like, I'm da-da-da-da, so old. And then just sit back and watch the reaction, and that's how it happened. And then I didn't do it, then I didn't think about it for a while.
So just so I understand that, Stinson, then, so your friend, she was 19,
yeah,
and at that stage, she wasn't initially pretending to be underage?
No, it was just that, she was. The pictures were, the pictures, we had to, take pictures, put them up, and then when they messaged, we told them that she was underage, just to see what the reaction would be. It was just basically, we were going to just see, how bad it actually is. So then I forgot all about it, and then one day it just popped back into my head, And
even that early evidence of your friend who was pretending to be underage suggested to you that, sadly, there was an appetite out there for men to communicate with underage girls.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It was insane, and I don't know why I didn't think about it again until I was talking to a friend, and he was like, "You should do it, dude. This is insane. Why has no one thought about this before in England? I mean, it's been done in America and things, but no one had actually done it in the UK." And then I did it, and I started it last year, and it sort of it was okay, you know, to get a few people watching and you know, paying attention and stuff. And then it wasn't until last week that the whole thing just exploded, like, beyond anything that I'd ever, you know, think of.
And sort of, I suppose, people passing on the videos to other people of the confrontations that you've had, and it sort of goes viral on the internet. Stinson, let me ask about you. I know that Stinson Hunter is not your real name, and obviously we're not going to disclose your identity on air, but what sort of person are you? What's your background?
I don't know. It's not really something that I want to talk about. I mean, I'm just a normal person. I've got normal friends that just does normal stuff. I'm pretty boring, if I'm honest with you. I'd rather just sit and play Xbox and go out and get drunk. I don't really drink or anything, so, you know, it's just one of the things. I just rather play Xbox. I don't go out partying and stuff. I'm just generally like, I mean, I'll go out and have a laugh and stuff sometimes, but I'm pretty boring, if I'm honest with you.
You're not a parent, from what I can tell.
I'd rather not talk about that.
Okay. Again, I'm only asking just in terms of like sort of your motivation, really, so people can understand sort of why you might be doing this, you know, whether these kind of incidents ever touched your life directly or even indirectly, you know, fearing that it might happen to somebody close to you.
Well, the thing is, I've witnessed child abuse from a personal angle. I was in a care home as a child, and there was a lot of girls in there that, you know, got manipulated and turned onto prostitution via, you know, these guys would be like, yeah, take these drugs, or force them to take drugs, and then, you know, rape them and whatever. And then, you know, but at the time I was really naive to it. I didn't realise how serious it was. It was just, you know, one of the things, oh yeah, it's nothing, you know, 'cause, you know, 13, 14, you don't really think about it. But then as I've got older, I've realised how bad it was and how, you know, messed up those people must have been at the time. Like my friends, like one of them was a really close friend of mine from school. And yeah, and that was pretty grim. And then there's, you know, you see other things, and there's, you know, friends that have been through stuff and whatnot. And yeah, so it's I don't know, it's not really at the forefront of my mind. I try and not think about, you know, past stuff. It's just, yeah.
And Stinson, if our listeners want to ask you questions about what you do, you happy to take calls and answer any questions people raise with you?
Yeah, I suppose.
0845, I'll take that as a yes then. 08453 009956. We've got Stinson Hunter on the line. He's a man who poses as a young woman on the internet, offering underage sex, lures would-be paedophiles, and then films the resulting confrontations, which are then posted on the web. Is he a public servant? Is he, as the Child Protection and Online Protection Centre says, doing something dangerous? 08453 009956. It's 9:15.
BBC WM 95.6.
Travel.
Let's get the latest with Johnny Palmer.
Still fairly busy on most of the motorways across our regional. The M5, though, the M5 looks okay at the moment from Junction 1 at West Brom through to the M6 link, helped, of course, by the fact that the roadworks at the top end of the M5 to merge with the M6 were lifted over the course of the weekend. But it's certainly been a much busier morning than yesterday, with the southbound M6's struggle from Junction 11 at Cannock down to 6 for Birmingham and the Aston Expressway. Stop-start along much of that section still. Northbound M6 approaching Birmingham is busy from Junction 4A at the M42 up to 6 for Spaghetti. And if you're on the northbound M42, it's quite heavy going from 1 at Bromsgrove up to 3 for Portway and Redditch. Busy through Great Bar for the A34 Birmingham Road, southbound approaching Queslet Road at the Scott Arms Junction. Fair bit of traffic through Selly Oak on Bristol Road on the inbound side between Chapel Lane and the Priory Crossroads. And if you're in Birmingham city centre, the Aston Expressway is slow moving. Strangely enough, on the outbound side, it's not too bad moving into the city, but outbound it's slow. Dartmouth Circus out to the M6 at Spaghetti. Busy for St Chad's Queensway around Lancaster Flyover and onto St Chad's Cathedral itself. And a slow one still in Dudley for New Birmingham Road Road southbound, so from the Dudley end at the Burnt Tree traffic lights through to Oldbury and the Birchley Island by Toys R Us. If you can update us, you can call us now, 08453 002288.
Moment to remember.
I am literally within 6 inches of this man-eating lion.
Stories we'll never forget.
Without the research nurses who connect the patients to these new drugs, large numbers of patients would not have benefited.
This Thursday, BBC WM 95.6 celebrates 1 incredible year of the Red Alert appeal.
That's a new Guinness World Record.
Pete Morgan at Breakfast is live from the Cure Leukemia Centre in Birmingham.
Fantastic!
And from 4, the Paul Frank Show turns the West Midlands red with reporters at Birmingham Town Hall, Birmingham University and the Dudley Canal Tunnels.
People of West Midlands, they're actually saving lives.
The Red Alert appeal, a year that made a difference. This Thursday on BBC WM 95.6.
BBC WM 95.6, Adrian Goldberg here with the West Midlands biggest phone-in. Slightly different start to the show today because we're having a bit of a one-on-one interview with a chap called Stinson Hunter. Stinson goes out, he pretends to be an underage girl, lures would-be paedophiles into meeting him. When they turn up, they find out that instead of an underage girl, they've got a cameraman filming their meeting. A meeting which is then posted on the internet. We've mentioned already that the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre condemns what Stinson Hunter is doing. Do you? Or do you think it's actually a valuable contribution to child safety? 08453 009956. Stinson, you talked about witnessing abuse of children in a children's home as you were growing up. Just tell me a bit about the first time you went out and did this and how you sort of operate your sting, so to speak.
Well, I don't really want to give too much away of like how it's set up and stuff, but basically we'll go on a dating site or dating sites and set up a profile, normal profile with a picture of a girl that is like, you know, she's generally in her 20s, but that she looks quite young. And then just wait for guys to message, and then the first message we send is explaining how old the person is. We tell them straight away that the person's underage. There's no sort of leading them on for a few messages and then go, oh, by the way, I'm actually 14, I'm actually 15. We tell them straight away, so it's their choice then.
So any sort of respectable bloke on a dating website having a contact from a 14 or 15-year-old girl, you might think would immediately shy away, either just stop the conversation there or say, sorry, I can't speak to you, you're underage, this relationship can go no further.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, there's nothing sexual like said on our part as well, so there's no stringing along. I mean, we do get some guys that are like, yeah, you're too young, I'm reporting your profile, and, you know, we end up getting the profile removed and IP banned and stuff, and we have to find other ways of doing it. But don't get me wrong, it's not like every guy is like a fiend for underage girls. It's like we do get quite a lot of guys that say, no, you are too young, or come back to me when you're 16, or, you know, and that's pretty awesome. And then we generally tell them, if we get time before they report us or block us, we generally tell them what's actually going on, so they're not sort of, you know, not aware of what's going on, sort of thing. So I think it's a courtesy thing for me. I think I'm just too polite, and I just like to explain what's going on.
And are you doing this just on your own?
No, I started it last year with a good friend of mine, and he couldn't handle doing it. It was a bit too much for him, so he dropped out. And then I've got another guy called Lester Muse that's helping me at the minute. He does the camera stuff. He's only done one with me at the minute, which was the one that went viral. Yeah. So he's pretty new to it all, but he's actually pretty good at what he's doing. Like, he's a pretty good cameraman, and he talks to them as well. And he's pretty, you know, he's in his 20s, so he's still pretty young. So he knows, like, you know, sort of how to speak to people in like a more younger way than what I possibly could.
When in terms of posing as the young girl, yeah. And then and then at some point, thankfully, you know, it's not every man who is lured by this, as you say. Some men, quite rightly, will report the profile of an apparently underage girl, but some men are then interested sexually in what appears to be a young girl. So how do you take it forward from there?
Well, they start talking. They'll say you know, if they say that's fine or whatever response that means that they are willing to continue with the conversation. They'll generally ask what I like doing. So it's just generally school, or just think of like what kids do these days, and And then they sort of bring up, "Are you a virgin?" Which is generally the general thing that I get asked is the first sexual question is, "Are you a virgin?"
And you're quite scrupulous, Stinson, in saying that you don't ever make a sexual suggestion first.
No, not at all. Not even later on in the conversations. I don't encourage sexual speak from the decoy side. If it's me doing it, or Leicester Muse or whoever else is helping me at the time, I tell them no sexual words, like, texting from you. You can't do that. Like, that's just encouraging them. I want them to basically hang themselves, if you know what I mean. I don't, I want them to show that they're the ones that the pursuers, and this girl isn't really that interested. She's interested to the point where she'll meet, but she never sort of agrees to doing anything sexual. It's more maybe. Like, if I said no, then I've said no before, and they get quite persistent, and they'll badge you with messages or call you offensive names and block you and report your profile if they feel like their man pride has been hurt.
And how many men have you ended up meeting, men who were expecting to meet an underage girl?
Meeting 13 or 14, but I've actually some guys, trying to think of a way to put this, some guys are just after a quick thrill and they want pictures, if you know what I mean. So what we do is we'll get their phone numbers, and I'll try and get their emails to try and find their Facebook and stuff, and then we'll call them up. And I've got quite a lot of phone calls from them as well, from guys that were just talking to the girl, being suggestive, sending nude pictures, asking for nude pictures, and so we call them up and quiz them.
And in terms of physical meetings, face to face, then how many of those?
13 or 14.
Yeah. And you've said that all along the girls are the decoy girl. You or your friend Lester will not engage in sexual behaviour. So when the men meet with you, clearly they're expecting to meet a 14 or 15-year-old girl.
Yeah.
Is it unfair to call them a paedophile? Are they necessarily interested in sex? I mean, clearly it's wrong and unusual that a man might be looking to meet a 14 or 15-year-old girl, but how can we be sure that sex is what they're after rather than just being sad and lonely, let's say?
Well, because, I mean, some of them might be sad and lonely and just want a bit of attention, but, the responses are, I never, like, nothing sexual is ever said, like, oh yeah, I want to do this to you, I want to do this to you, from our side of things. It's their side, and sex is spoken about to a degree, but it's more the girl acting shy, or maybe, or possibly, or I don't want to get caught and things like that. I try and keep it to how a girl would speak instead of just being completely like, no. So they do think that, they turn up thinking that they are going to have sex with this girl or do something with this girl, but
something of a sexual nature.
Yeah, I mean, I don't sit there and like describe what I want to do to them or what I want them to do to me, but I do sort of go along with it, if you will, to it, just go along with it, I think, but not ever say anything that's overly explicit or voluntarily say something sexual towards them. It's normally them that'll encourage it, and then you just sort of have to go along with it to a certain level before.
I've watched on the internet some of the confrontations that you've had with men. Have you ever been physically threatened? These men must be very scared when they see you there with the camera, threatening to expose them.
No, I haven't, but it probably happened one day. But the thing how I see it is, and people ask me this quite a lot, it's, for me, if they're going to meet a child to have sex with this child, I mean, some guys book hotel rooms, mate, so, they've got no excuse for it.
They book hotel rooms?
Yeah, I've had 2, 3 book hotel rooms. One actually caught in the hotel room, the other one wouldn't meet in the hotel. He would do it, he wants to meet in public first. But, I forgot where my train of thought there. I forgot where I was going. No, they're on the back foot. They're thinking they're meeting a child, and then they're accosted by 2 blokes, or 3 blokes sometimes. Obviously, we make sure we tell them there's going to be no violence and stuff, but they're on the back foot, and I think they'd be stupid to do anything, because, you'd be like, if a guy hit me, he'd be arrested, and then, why did you hit him? Well, because he turned up, and I thought I was meeting a child for sex, but really it was him.
Yeah. What about the men? Because these men are now, in many cases, exposed to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of eyes on the internet.
Yeah.
Is there a danger that you are setting them up to be the victims, even if unwittingly, of vigilante action? Somebody might say, I recognise that guy, I'm going to get a bunch of mates to go round with a few baseball bats and take action against this guy.
Well, I can't really say anything about that. I don't encourage it or anything, but if people, people choose to do
You are
whatever
making
they're
it
gonna...
possible, though, aren't you?
Yeah, but the thing is, if other people were doing stuff about it, then I wouldn't be doing this. If there was more stricter online, like the kids having online access to, dating sites, and if there's more stringent protection, then I wouldn't be doing it. And
no, but I suppose my point is, though, isn't what you're doing potentially irresponsible and harmful to people who, even if they're doing things that are wrong and illegal, who should be dealt with by the legal system, not by vigilante justice?
But I'm not really encouraging vigilante justice. I'm just trying to show people what's actually going on and then maybe make a change. Yeah, it might be irresponsible, but how I see it is one person. If I can help one person not be hurt, then it's worth it. I'm prepared to take the fall for it.
Stinson, stay there. I want to bring in Ricky in Yardley. He's got a question for you. Ricky, Good morning to you, Ricky. How are you?
Good morning, Adrian.
Yeah, what do you want to ask Stinson, my friend? Yeah.
Stinson, first of all, I want to say, mate, I think what you're doing is great. I think it's wonderful. And obviously, like you said, if you can stop one child being abused or catch someone who has abused a child, it's brilliant. But the thing, because I only caught the back end of the conversation, I was wondering, do you actually report the paedophiles to the police? And if so, what can actually be done about them? Because as far as I'm aware, they haven't actually committed a crime.
Yeah, and Ricky, can I just say, in all these cases that we're talking about alleged paedophiles. We can't brand people who've been convicted of no criminal offence, but the people who Stinson, who is trying to expose. What about that, Stinson? I mean, does everybody who meets then get reported automatically by the police? To the police.
How I see it is I've done my part and it's down to someone else to do it. I mean, it might sound like I'm brushing it off or something, but it takes up so much of my time and so much mental strength to do everything I'm doing. Sometimes I could be talking to 10 guys at a time, but people do generally say, I'm reporting this to the police, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, which is awesome. I've had an arrest the other week. Last week we had an arrest over one of them. But
you don't do the reporting, you put it on the internet and you let other people who perhaps would recognise that individual then report it to the police.
Yeah, or just anybody that thinks that there's an issue here, report it. I mean, I know I've had a couple of videos reported to the police and stuff, so
and if the police then come to you, do you help them? Are you willing to?
If they came to me, I'd be willing to help them, but they're not they've not tried to contact me, so...
Ricky, thanks very much indeed for your call. Stinson Hunter has joined us on BBC WM today. Stay there, Stinson. Getting a lot of people who want to speak to you. I think there's so many issues involved in what you're discussing as well. Stinson Hunter, a West Midlands-based journalist who poses as an underage girl and lures alleged paedophiles on the internet with the promise of sex. When the men turn up, they are confronted by Stinson, who films their meeting and posts the results on the web. We've already heard from the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre. They believe that what he is doing is wrong. We've heard from Ricky in Yardley, who believes that what he's doing is absolutely bang on. 08453 00 9956 9:30 on BBC WM. Who poses on the web as an underage girl and lures, apparently, would-be paedophiles, films their confrontation and posts it on the internet. Is he providing a public service? Is he a public menace? You tell me. 08453 00 9956. Speed lines now.
BBC WM 95.6.
You can now get up-to-the-minute news and sport and see the stories we're working on with BBC Local Live at bbc.co.uk/Birmingham.
Very good morning to you, Adrian Goldberg on BBC WM. Chatting today, slightly different format to usual, to Stinson Hunter. He's a West Midlands-based journalist who poses on the internet, on dating forums, as an underage girl. He is then chatted up, in some cases, by men who are very interested, in some cases, in meeting these underage girls. Stinson then arranges to meet, But instead of meeting a 14-year-old girl, the apparent would-be paedophiles are greeted by Stinson with his camera and a couple of his friends as well. The subsequent confrontation is filmed and posted on the internet. Not everybody thinks this is a brilliant idea. The Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre said it could compromise ongoing investigations into paedophile networks and could spark an abuser to further harm it to a child if they feel threatened. I have to say, though, many people who've contacted the show today are supporting Stinson Hunter. Cosley Baggy says if the police did the same as this man, they could catch many a paedophile, in my opinion. It's a bit like sitting outside pubs at 11:30 to catch drunk drivers, but both are too simple for our ever more useless namby-pamby police. And Matt says, isn't entrapment illegal? Martin says Stinson should have a medal because he does more than the police ever do. Well done to him. And this is from Lucy in Solihull, who says, as a mother of two girls, I applaud the man who catches out these perverts and exposes them. Keep up the good work. If you do want to drop me a text, it's 81333. Start your message with WM, or you can give us a call and chat to Stinson yourself directly on 08453 009956. Stinson, not everybody is sold on your methods. Many people clearly are. What's the general feedback that you get?
It's generally quite positive. You know, you get the odd few people that, you know, they've got nothing better to do with the time, and then they'll just sit there and be, oh, you're an idiot, it's entrapment, it's this, it's that. It's like, well, you know, if other people, other agencies were doing this, you know, or doing something about it, then I wouldn't be doing it, you know. I mean, yeah, but generally, like, everything's fine. Like, people are really cool. Like, the support I've had is insane. Like, because obviously it's just blown up in this past week, but the support I've had is pretty insane, and the feedback has been really good. Like,
stay there if you would. I want to bring in Marilyn Hawes, who's the director of a charity called Enough Abuse, a child protection consultancy. Yep. Marilyn, good morning to you.
Morning.
You were quite shocked when we rang you up and told you about this, weren't you?
I'm always surprised that I'm surprised, if that makes sense. I just think it's quite bizarre. I'm probably going to be pilloried by half the nation that are listening, that I'm afraid I agree with CEOP. There is an investigative force in this country called the police, and we shouldn't be dabbling in their work. I think they're doing an unfair attack this morning that the police are namby-pamby. If you actually got involved in this subject at the level that people like myself are involved in it, you would understand that the horrific photographs that the police are expected to look at on a daily basis of revolting pictures of abuse, and they have to subject themselves to that hour by hour, maybe for 2 years before they're moved on to another section, and I think they've been wrongly pilloried. I don't think they're very good with witness.
Well, in fairness, Marilyn, they haven't been pilloried by Stinson. That was one texter's comment.
Well, even one person says it. Then I mean, the implication is the police aren't doing their job because this so-called service is necessary. I think it's, you know, I don't think the motives are sound. I agree with CEOP. I think you're going down a very dark route. Nobody should really be dabbling in this subject, going deep into it, unless you really know what you're doing and you have you've really understood the issues that lay behind this and how people work, how these networks work. And I agree, you could compromise something. Now, if you really want to help, then get out there and educate the children in the schools. Not to be using the internet, not to be using MSN and webcams in the way that they're doing. Get the education to the parents, and then let them learn how to properly perform and behave and act on the internet.
What do you say about that, Stinson?
I mean, she's got a fair point. I can see where she's coming from, but, you know, I mean, yeah, the police do a fantastic job. I've not ever said for one, you know, at all that the police are not doing a good enough job and whatnot. But I think the more could be done, and I think that people are on the internet all the time, and it's all well and good going into a school and saying to a child, you shouldn't talk to bad men, or you shouldn't do this, and telling parents to do this, you know, put locks on, you know, certain websites and stuff, because there's ways around everything. You know, I think the internet is a powerful tool, and if you can show on the internet what is happening on the internet, I think that drills it home more. I've had parents telling me that they've showed their children my videos, and it's shown these children what it is actually like, and it's sort of not scared them, but opened their eyes a little bit.
Can I interrupt a minute? If you would just kindly direct those parents to the CEOP website, where they can download Think You Know videos, such as you're describing, for free, done in a professional, thought-through way, they would have that same information. And I don't think it's anyone's job who doesn't really understand this to flash up. An awful lot is going on in this country.
Well, when you say, Marilyn...
Can I just say, if you go on a lot of school websites, a lot of the schools don't even understand how to secure their websites properly.
Yeah, when you say you don't think it's his job, isn't it all of our job, actually, to make our children safe?
It's everybody's job to educate and take a responsibility, not to dabble in police work, in my view.
It's not just police work, though. Let me just interrupt you, like, as you interrupted me. It's not just police work. Like Adrian said, it's everybody's work, it's parents' work, it's the public's work. Who's to say that one authority should be doing this and it should just be left to that authority? No, everybody should be making an effort to show the children what's going on. And I think you've come on here and you've just trying to attack me and make me look bad.
You
are a little bit. And I'm sorry, I'm speaking.
Listen, there is a better way of doing it. I do this. I train people all the time, and it is about relevant education, about raising awareness of how to protect the child, how parents can introduce the subject. The most effective way, the most powerful weapon there is in this world is education. Education brings knowledge, that removes fear, and then we can all work together. I understand, absolutely support you when you say everybody has to take the responsibility. They do. But there are lots of people out there who won't even allow the proper training to their mothers and parents.
Well, that's in fairness, Marilyn, you know, that's an issue for the legal system, that's an issue for the education system. Stinson, as a member of the public, can't control that. What he can control is the kind of engagements that he posts on the internet. And
I don't think you should be putting things on the internet like this.
But if Marilyn, if you're a listener, and you were to look at one of his internet videos, and you saw your neighbour there trying to hook up with a 14-year-old girl in the hope of having sex, wouldn't that be useful public information for you?
I don't agree with any of this. I don't agree with Sarah's law. These people also have innocent families, and in the wrong hands, those families could be attacked. I'm sorry, it doesn't get my vote at all.
No, well, listen, I have raised that point with you, Stinson, and Marilyn raises it. Let's re-examine that. You know, isn't there a danger that innocent people, men who may just be sad and lonely, who've come to a meeting of the kind that you describe, who may have no evil intent, or their family members, even if they have had evil intent, could be caught up in some kind of vigilante action? Wouldn't you have to accept responsibility for that if it happened?
Well, the thing is, these guys turn up and they have said sexual things. They've all got that intent there. They've said something. I wouldn't meet up with a guy that was just having an innocent chat. They would have had to have said something, or, you know, more than once, you know, consistently. And, but yeah, you know, innocent people will, you know, might get brought into it. But that's like the case with anything. If a guy goes to to prison for these things, name gets leaked, and the parents, I mean, the family are going to be targeted then. It doesn't matter how it's done. You know, people will always get fallout for it. It's just the way that things are. You know, if in that case, if you know, to me, like, people are saying, oh, you should blur them out, you shouldn't show the R because there could be reprisal attacks on a family. In that case, whoever gets arrested for these sort of things, charged, and then obviously if they get convicted, they shouldn't have the details released because the families are going to could get hurt as well.
Let me just interrupt there, because Marilyn, you've endorsed the view expressed by the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre, who initially said they would come on the programme and then didn't today. Bizarrely, I know not why they don't want to engage on an important subject like this. Let me read you another statement we've had. This is from Warwickshire Police, Marilyn. It says, Warwickshire police officers, and then this is in relation to one of Stinson's investigations. Warwickshire police officers have arrested a 65-year-old man from the West Midlands area on suspicion of inciting a minor to engage in sexual activity. The arrest occurred on Monday the 18th of February 2013. Following questioning, he was released on police bail pending further inquiries. Police were made aware of the alleged offence after a video was posted on YouTube. Officers have contacted the owners of the YouTube account to ask for the video to be removed, as it could prejudice a future court case. The National Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre have also been notified. Now, Marilyn, we're not going to make any assumptions in this case. Obviously, everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But if Stinson has brought somebody to justice to the notice of the police, who would seek to engage an underage girl in sex, is he not providing a public service?
Not if it's going to jeopardise or compromise what might be a court action. And it's so you get some clever barristers that will trip people up, and any slight evidence that's not out there correctly, you've lost your case. I personally think, it's my view, and I deal with this every day, the more intelligent way of doing it is through education at base level to parents and let the police do their job. You're never, ever going to get ahead of this crime on the internet. But I agree with Stinson, it's a very good, useful tool. It's a wonderful thing that's been created, but it's a bit of a dark beast as well if you don't know how to properly action it. But I mean, if the police thought it was so wonderful, why aren't they employing him? I mean, if you look at it from the flip side, I'm playing devil's advocate here, but all of us, I'm sure, have had things in our life that we wouldn't want our neighbours and friends to know, even our family. If I found out something about Stinson's past and caught it and put it on YouTube, would he be happy with that? I mean, I'm afraid with this crime, so often people think you're guilty until you're proved innocent, and the stain remains even if you're innocent.
Marilyn, really appreciate your contribution today. Thank you so much for joining in. The director of Enough Abuse, a child protection consultancy. And I don't think this issue is black and white. I don't think it's a simple question of right or wrong, is it? And Marilyn, quite rightly, I think, asking some very difficult questions of Stinson. Stinson, though, sticking by his guns. What's your thoughts? 08453 00 9956. Kieran is in Brierley Hill. Hello, Kieran.
How you doing?
Hello, matey. Yeah, what's your thought, my friend?
I think is it Stinson?
Stinson, yeah.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And the lady who's just been on, I think she's scared of her job, to be honest with you.
So would you encourage people like Stinson to do what they're doing and post these things on the internet?
Yeah, I would, because at the end of the day, you've got like a government out there that'll stop people sharing music files, but they'll let websites with like kids and that on there still be on there. They can close it down if they want to. They just, they don't seem to want to do it.
Kieran, thanks very much indeed. Dave in Sutton on the text says, this is Dave's words, why don't the useless police do something like this? The guy should be given a medal for what he does. SV says, if this potential paedophile wants to find child abusers, thanks very much indeed for that, SV. I won't read out the rest of your libelous comment, but thank you. Tell the woman speaker, Marilyn, that most children have the internet at their fingertips on Blackberries or iPhones. Every one of my child's friends has one. She hasn't got a clue. Take a reality check. And another texter says, myself and a friend a few years ago copied and pasted a photo and made up a profile of a young teenage girl. Within 24 hours, I had over 100 messages from middle-aged men talking about sex. Amazing, but sadly true. So, not everybody, as I say, Stinson is supporting you, but clearly a lot of support out there.
Yeah, it's, I mean, there's going to be people, everyone's entitled to their opinion, and, I might not agree with it, but, I think that everyone has the right for an opinion, and I'll fight for that person to have the right to have an opinion, even if I disagree with it. I'm doing what I'm doing. The police are doing their job, and I've got nothing against the police. I think the police do a fantastic job with and they've got limited resources. But I think this is the sort of thing that we need out there, to show people how serious this is. There's so many things you could do on the internet to prohibit children accessing, dating sites, 'cause it's so easy to sign up. Facebook, I mean, parents that let the kids have Facebook, for instance, at such an early age, I completely disagree with it, and I think it's irresponsible. I would never let my child have a Facebook at, 7 or 8 or something. There's kids on there that have got Facebooks at 10, and I think it's really dangerous. That's why there's a limit of 13 or whatever it is on to sign up to Facebook. And I just think that, there's so much that can be done that can limit the chances of something happening. More responsible, websites and, more stringent checks on the people that are signing up to the sites and stuff.
I just want to read a statement from West Midlands Police as well, just so, you know, I want listeners to know that we've covered all bases, and we obviously what you're doing, Stinson, is very interesting, and I just listeners to this show will know anyway that we invite people, you know, with all kinds of views, positive, negative, plus, minus, onto the show, and we've contacted West Midlands Police, invited them onto the programme today. Superintendent Claire Cowley from West Midlands Police's Public Protection Department said, "We are aware of a number of videos posted on YouTube in the last few days which identify people as allegedly arranging to meet underage girls, some of which were seemingly filmed in the West Midlands area. We are working with regional forces to identify the people featured in the videos and will investigate robustly any offences identified. In addition, we are working with internet service providers with a view to having the footage removed. We do not encourage vigilantism of this kind and would warn those who take this approach that they could be breaking the law. They could also be disrupting criminal investigations and compromising the safety of vulnerable victims who would be best protected by the police. The National Child Exploitation and Online Protection Centre has also been notified." I'm curious to know, of course we can't ask the police because they're not here, because they chose not to come on, Stinson. Are you aware of any law that you could be breaking by highlighting these issues?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm sure if there was a law, I'd have been arrested nearly a year ago when I first started doing it. I just want to go back to something that was said earlier about being contacted via YouTube to have the videos removed. I've had no messages from the police at all saying remove the videos. If an official public body contacted me and asked me to remove the videos, I would, but you know, I think it's a bit too late now. The one of them's gone viral, and other people are re-uploading them and stuff.
Yeah, but there is also some. Except, you know, the police may have a different point of view to you, and they're entitled, of course, to have that, as our CEOP. Yeah. But this kind of slightly threatening warning from both CEOP and West Midlands Police that people like you could be breaking the law. Well, either you are or you aren't, and if you are, they should come and arrest you. Exactly. And if they're not, it seems to me they shouldn't be using that kind of veiled, threatening language to you. You could be breaking the law.
It doesn't fight. The thing with me, I've started something now, and no matter what happens to me, like if you know, I get arrested or whatever, you know, I've actually done something. Like, people have sat up and listened, and it's, you know, it's everywhere at the minute. Everyone's talking about it, and that's pretty awesome. If, you know, like you said, it could be breaking the law. You know, if they came to me and told me how I'm breaking the law, then I would gladly maybe reconsider stopping. Well, no, I wouldn't. I'm lying. I wouldn't stop. I'm not. You know, I'm not going to stop, because I think until something is done, until someone higher above says yes, we're going to do something, that's when I'll stop. I mean, arresting me, that's just going to cause more, you know, flames of the fire and stuff. You know, more people will be aware that I've been arrested, and people won't sit down and just take it. People will say something, and then that could encourage more people to go out and do what I'm doing. You know, it needs to stop, and I think it's really important that someone does it. And I didn't think for a second that it would get as big as what it has. While I've got this platform, I think I think it's important that I use it to the best of my ability, and, you know, get it out there, and just so people are aware of everything. Because some people are really naive, and they don't know what goes on the internet, and the internet is a scary place, you know, and I think it's important that people know about it.
Let's speak to Chrissy. Chrissy, how are you?
Oh, good morning.
Yeah,
I'm fine, thank you.
What's your thought?
Well, my thoughts are, I absolutely applaud what Stinson Hunter is doing. I'm a mother of 5 children, and I have 11 grandchildren, and the world is not a safe place. And we have police cuts. There is not the amount of police out there needed to do what is required. And you just have to take your hat off to the people. You can't call him a vigilante. He's not going out there beating people up.
The argument is, Chrissy, that he might, even unwittingly, encourage vigilantes, though, people who will take the law into their own hands.
Well, bottom line is, that, you know, that's the risk of that, you know, weighed against the risk that comes to children. I think it's a risk that's worth taking.
Chrissy, great to hear from you. Thank you. Let's speak to Miles, listening online in Sweden. Hello, Miles. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Fantastic. Lovely to have you along. Welcome to BBC WM, the voice of Birmingham and the Black Country. Miles in Sweden. What do you make of Stinson? You've been following on the internet, yeah?
Right, Stinson, just before I get into this, I'm a huge fan of what you're doing, and your movement. I'm going as far as calling it a movement now, has reached out into Northern Europe, as far as I'm concerned, because I'm now starting to do what you're doing, but up in other countries. And I think you've given a lot of people a good kick up the arse.
Thank you.
To get this out there. The internet isn't a safe place for a lot of kids. I've got 3 younger sisters myself, and I'm terrified of what could happen to them. I mean, they're approaching their late teens now, so they're kind of learning responsibility. But it is not a safe place. As far as what CEOP and all of that lot are saying, I don't believe that you personally are telling people to go out there and beat people up. You don't go there, and to be honest, I don't know how you don't jump across these tables and smash them yourself.
All right, Miles, well, obviously, that kind of behaviour would not be encouraged in any event.
I don't encourage that at all.
And would be illegal. Let's get a quick word with Professor Peter Summer, who is a cyber security expert. Peter, good morning to you.
Good morning.
What do you make of what Stinson's doing?
Sorry to put a dampener on this. I understand the motivations, but I think they are mistaken and entering rather dangerous territory. The first thing is that if you're going to do this sort of activity, you need an awful lot of training. The police have been doing this work. In fact, interestingly enough, the original pioneering work was done in your own area in the West by the West Midlands Police. These days, CEOP, the Child Exploitation and Online Protection Unit, do this work, and they train people to do it. I've actually acted as a consultant to them, not in this area, but I know the people who are doing the work. And the concerns are as follows. First of all, under English law, you have to be extremely careful you don't act as an agent provocateur. In other words, encourage people to do something they might otherwise not do. If you're accused of that, then you lose your case, which is a bad bad outcome that I'm sure no one wants.
So Peter,
secondly, you have to be very. Let me finish.
Yeah.
Secondly, you have to be very careful about collecting evidence of what you've done or what you say other people have done. You need the evidence also to ensure that people don't accuse you of being an agent provocateur. And thirdly, whenever you're doing a paedophile investigation, you run the risk that you're going to be seeing paedophile material. And unless you're doing it within a proper framework, that's what's called a strict liability offence. So the police are doing it. By all means, lobby for the police to do more. But I do implore people who are thinking about doing this. That's the wrong action. It may have the wrong outcome, both for the people you're trying to get after and also for people who are investigating it themselves without the proper framework and training.
So Pete, yeah. So, well, you're entitled to your view, Peter. So, by acting as what you describe as an agent provocateur, by posing as an underage girl and engaging in conversations in which the men believe they're having sex and luring them, as it were, to a meeting point, that act of being a decoy in itself could destroy the credibility of any prosecution.
That's the danger, and when the police do it, they always sort of think very carefully, step by step. There's special training for what are called covert internet investigators. They seldom work by themselves. At each stage, as something is going along, they can ask for advice. How far should we be going? And everything that they do is very carefully recorded, so that they don't have that sort of have that sort of outcome. So, as I said, I understand the motivations. I can understand why people are applauding the motivations, but I do think, without the proper training, the proper legal framework, the outcomes could be seriously unpleasant for everybody.
Isn't the danger, though, Peter, that by leaving it to the individuals, ordinary people who have a stake in this as parents, as brothers, as sisters, as relatives of those who might be affected, are cut out of the process, and they feel powerless.
You could say that of almost all forms of law enforcement, and
but especially so on this one.
What we do is, if you feel strongly about this and you feel the police aren't doing enough, by all means lobby for that. I wouldn't want to stop you for asking for more funding for this type of activity, but don't do it yourself.
Final word to you, Stinson. What do you say to what Peter Summers had to say?
The thing is, if I'm doing something wrong, if the way I'm doing it is wrong, say professional training, blah blah blah. I mean, if you'd like to tell me where I'm going wrong and what training I need, then I'll gladly go and do that. But he doesn't know me, if I'm honest with you, and I'm an educated man and stuff. whatever happens. You know, if I get shot for this, then fair enough. Like, it's just one of them things. Don't really have anything else to say.
Listen, Stinson, what I got to say to you is you've provided us with, I think, an hour of the most interesting and dramatic and I would say important pieces of radio that I've been involved in this year. I think it's a really fascinating area of debate that you've opened up, and I'm really grateful to you for spending so much time with us on the show this morning. Thank you so much indeed. There's Stinson Hunter, who's a West Midlands man doing his best to out paedophiles. What do you say about that? Is it dangerous territory? Is it too dangerous for ordinary people? Or is he providing a public service? 08453 00 9956.
BBC WM 95.6.
Travel.
Let's get the latest now. Encouraging vigilante action. He says he just wants dangerous people to be exposed for what they are. Do you support him? 08453 00 9956. And in this hour as well, I want to talk about education and segregation. Should we be allowing whole religious groups to set up schools which exclude children of other faiths? Or especially after what happened last week with the conviction of 3 men in Birmingham, do we need more education and less segregation? 08453 00 9956. Let's get the news now with Jay Vidalinger.
Who've been